I think we're talking about a movie here that recognizes that it is a movie. It's one of those rare things, and especially for all the movies now, it's almost a movie that knows it's a movie. It's kind of fun that way.
It's a movie that never takes itself too seriously in the filmic language standpoint, even though it's dealing with some pretty heavy and heady themes.
Yeah.
And some good musical numbers too.
So let's talk about a film that's conscientious of itself.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I'm one of your hosts, Kyle Goethe from GoatFilmReviews.com.
I'm Nick from the St. Paul Filmcast. Thanks for finding us. Thanks for watching. And for our loyal fans, thank you. Continue to support the show. Another way you can support the show is, of course, I'm going to say it, join the Patreon. We got some great deals, great content, and opportunities for you to tell us what movies we can review for a future episode. Of course, a shout out to you as well. Kyle and I are members of Minnesota Film Critics Alliance. Check out that webpage for critics reviews as well as ours. And today we're talking about one that just I have nothing to compare it with, really. It's very unique to its own style. It's Emilia Pérez.
Yes. So Rita is a lawyer who never gets the credit she deserves. But now she's been hired to help a dangerous cartel boss with their transition and disappearance from the world.
Okay, so my first impression when it came out of the theater is just the assessment that life is just messy. Life is just messy. Every character in this has flaws. Every character has some good points to it. But everything, how they interact, is just a wild mess. And it's not that it's bad. It's just that it kind of feels grounded. It's a gritty, realistic movie, but it pops into also a musical sidebar note.
Yeah. There's the musical kind of just explodes outwards when it's here. And this is a lot of the film is musical in a sense, but it's not musical like it's not like Sound of Music musical. It's not like Joker Folie à Deux musical. It's its own kind of thing. I kind of call it the talking musical because most of the time people aren't really singing with this like, rambunctious kind of style to it. It reminded me a lot of some of the films of Jacques Demy, the French director from the 60s who did things like The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, which was very much characters talking throughout the entire film, but there's a musical kind of subtlety that's just always underplayed. And I think the music in this film gorgeously explodes and it shrinks back into a drain for a bit.
Right. So it's this fluctuation of super realism, but also recognizing that it's an art medium, that it is of demonstrating, the conscience of social problems of, talk about the problems of society. We're in Mexico, primarily in Mexico, but also problems within yourself, addressing your authentic self. I love this movie because each character is addressing their authentic self. You have Rita, who's a lawyer, who's doing it for a job, but lost all the passion for it. Finally found something she's passion for it, but doesn't really feel complete still. But a very rich tension throughout the movie, even though it's something that your brain fills in, like, are we going to burst into a fight here, or we're going to make out here? So you have this very palpable, almost colliding forces throughout this whole movie.
Well, it never felt like it was a drama or a comedy or a musical. At the end, it becomes an action film.
And it's all of them, right?
Yeah, it's a thriller at times. This is a movie that is kind of existing out of genre.
It's like a David Fincher shootout at the end.
Yeah, it becomes a tragedy in some points. I mean, this is a movie that is just, it's impossible to place it into a box, which is kind of funny because so many of its characters feel like stock characters when we meet them, only to be surprised that they don't fit into the box either. And one thing I really appreciated about the film is it's less about what's being said in the room and more about how the actors' bodies are saying things. Because I feel like Gascon playing Emilia, I feel like I consistently knew exactly what they were thinking every moment of the entire film, just without speaking at all. There are ways in which she moves her body, in which she's having these conversations where you get the entire chemistry of what's going on. You get what the relationship with these characters are, even though you've met them. Yeah. This movie is so well done from a purely physical place. I think you could have done it as a short film or a silent film.
And also, I'm going to probably, when I do my nominations, give it a nomination for Best Editing. We have Juliette Welfing, who got an Oscar nomination for Diving Bell and The Butterfly, but also did Sister Brothers, Ocean's 8, and Hunger Games. Outdid it. I think that's the whole gel of it was the editing of this movie. I'm not saying everything is a minus, I think, production-wise, but when you have all of those elements and you're able to make it flow as well as you're doing all these really serious subjects, but make it entertaining as well. You're balancing all that. I think is a marvelous job piecing it all together.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot happening in the film. It's not, the funny thing about it is it's called Emilia Pérez, so you think it's going to be almost like a biopic level of
that's what I thought.
where you're going to follow this person their entire life. It's so not Emilia's story all the way through. It is at times Rita's story. It's Jess's story. We give a little bit of time to Gustavo, played by Edgar Ramirez, a great Edgar Ramirez, who's just chewing some scenery when he's in the film. Selena Gomez is another actress who I think is becoming more notable for her actual abilities as an actor than the fact that she was just on some shows when she was a kid. Now she's really getting a chance to shine with things like this and Only Murders in the Building. But like, it's really all of their films.
Yes.
So in some ways you could call this movie Rita and Emilia and Jesse and Gustavo, and that would be like, your Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice of the title there.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's misleading because I had no idea. I didn't watch the trailer for this. I had no idea that we're going to go the way we did.
Yeah. And I was like, when are we going to meet Emilia? I kept waiting for the first portion of the movie.
And I thought the reason why he was going to transition was to hide from whoever was threatening from his drug cartel, his legal business.
Because they never say the reason behind it initially.
And I thought that was the whole reason behind it, other than the person was searching for their authentic self.
Yeah, because they include a lawyer. When you hire a lawyer for that kind of thing, it's like, you're trying to disappear, right? And I think that would have been disingenuous to the trans community, who constantly gets given that as a reason. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, they're constantly told, like, well, you transitioned so you could be good at this sport, and it's like, people fight the trans community so often for like the reason behind why they.
Right, because I thought if this is the way we're going to do it, then I'm pulling away.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, people are really people like this movie. I heard good things about it. I was kind of like, I don't feel like this is working. They realized, oh no, it's not for that reason.
And the flaw of Emilia looking for authentic self, but not being honest with the other people around.
Yeah,
being honest with yourself, but you're not being honest with the people around you, causes consequences. And I think everybody in this movie is not a hero, but everybody in this movie is not really truly a villain. You have some villainy, which is like the person that's abusive husband and stuff like that. But yeah, you don't really have an outright hero, but you don't have an outright villain. And that's tough to make an entertaining movie with that kind of a spectrum.
Yeah, forgive my paraphrasing of one of the Three Stooges, but they're victims of circumstance, really. They're in a position that is one that they're in the search for their true self, their true being in a lot of ways, but every choice they make kind of ends up coming back to haunt them later on. And that's for everyone involved. Rita consistently is looking for family. She's looking for her purpose to kind of like have a unit of her own, and she spends the entire film servicing someone else's family.
There was a great shot of her in an apartment, and they do it from outside the apartment, looking almost like a Brian De Palma, Alfred Hitchcock, of outside across the street, of watching her just living her life in this, and you see how really empty it is.
Yeah. And that's what she's looking for, but she keeps choosing to go back and find purpose where she's not going to find it for herself.
It's a solid movie. I don't know if it's going to make my top 10, but it's definitely an earmark for this movie being in this movie. I mean, it's unforgettable.
What's your 2 criteria for crying out loud? We got it right here.
It's very unforgettable. It's hard to relate to any movie because they don't do it justice. Like, he just cited another movie, but it's totally not that at all.
It's not that at all.
Right, yeah.
But at moments, like...
And then, like, what do you think of the movie? It's like, it's hard to process this movie because you have so much ingredients into it. And what would you put in a category? Action, comedy, drama? I don't know what you would do with
it. That's the thing about it, is there's moments throughout the film that are everything. And that's also the way in which I feel about it, too, because at times I was thinking to myself, it's big. It's bold. It's
very bold.
It's aggressive.
That's the first word I put on my thing. This is a bold move.
Yeah. And then I was like, it's a little angry at times, but it's also like has its extreme moments of tenderness, and it's an emotional gamut of films. It's a genre.
Then you have this Mexican soap opera involved. Yeah.
If there was so much to it that, I mean, like, even we haven't even touched on the characters like Adriana Paz, who plays a woman who's been struggling with her relationship, looking for a missing husband, who ends up meeting Emilia and kind of developing.
Oh yeah, she's in the screen for like 10 minutes, and I already feel like
she's great. You know, she's great in the film. Edgar Ramirez is a very much a secondary character in the film, but he owns it when he's in there. I really liked Mark Evanier, who played Wasserman, the doctor. The doctor. Yeah. And it's like he gets a couple of scenes and then he's gone, but it's like he's great for when he's in the movie. I don't know that this is the kind of movie where I'm going to listen to the songs afterwards, although there are a few that are still rattling around in my head after seeing it.
Yeah.
So great music as well. I don't know that they're exactly the kinds of songs you'll see at karaoke bars, but really impactful music as well. The movie just works on so many levels.
The great contradiction in the movie before we go is Emilia inviting all these corrupt politicians and city workers to join this fundraiser to help the cause of eliminating corruption. And I think that's a great metaphor of the movie.
Yeah, and I think
And
that's
then
my
she
favorite.
shouts out to them. Oh, yeah.
That's my favorite musical element in the film is when Rita's dancing around the people and like kind of getting up in their business and, and singing about how they're terrible and she hopes they suffer for it.
Yeah.
Again, that's not even what that's not a character movement at all. That's literally just part of what the film is about. Whole much more. So thank you for joining us for this episode.
Probably the
We're
most
still trying to
complex movie we've had since A Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, we're still trying to make heads or tails of it, and I think it's the kind of movie that I'm excited for when it drops on Netflix because I will be watching it again because I just kind of need to.
Yeah.
So let us know what you thought about Emilia Pérez after you viewed it. Did you watch it in a theater during its theatrical release or on Netflix? We'd love to hear your thoughts on your experience with the film. It is certainly, there's a lot for everybody in this movie, I think, because there's a lot that makes you think. So thank you for joining us for another episode of Kyle and Nick on Film. Make sure that you check out GoatFilmReviews.com for my many written reviews. You can check out more of that.
Thanks for watching.